Crown is fascist, at least according to the Lexilogos Russia and the American Webster's Dictionary. Today I'm going to give a video on Noam Chomsky, okay? Libertarian, massive, highest grade of professors in the United States in history, political science, philosophy, and war. Chomsky goes into centralized states, socialism, and fascism like nobody else. And folks, today I'm going to touch on that. When we start at programming, when we start at this propaganda, this engineering, this institutionalization in Crown Canada, that's old, been around for us, implemented since 1867, absolutely. But it's old, it's not new, it's out of the old world order category. You can look at the sham trial, like people are publishing, of Jesus Christ, in absolutely that same old world order system. In fact, you can keep spiraling back. You can go through Old Testament, and we can go through a wide range of religions here, folks, but I'm going to stick to what my roots are, and a lot of you. We can go back through Old Testament, 2000 BC, and hit these stories. It's a 5,000 year history of evil of mankind, a usurpage of divinity. Webster's Dictionary. We're not going to look at Russia today. We're just going to do Webster's. Webster's gives a definition of fascism that doesn't even come close to Canadian Oxford, UK Oxford. Not even close. Noam Chomsky made a major life and academic career out of the study of linguistics, legal speak. He's not the best today. He's still alive, 95 years old. He's not the best today, but he's in the top 10 in the world. I was fortunate to have the best in the world. I got 10 minutes to learn legal speak after a 1-hour lecture. I got one-on-one 10 minutes with the world's greatest on legal speak. I've learned a lot. And Webster's talks about the exaltation of nation, meaning putting the divinity, the crown, on your government, your politicians. That's fascism. That's America's definition in its rich history, as the War of Independence against the British Empire was so long ago now today, more than 250 years ago. That's Webster's Dictionary. That's how they go through fascism, as it really is. Lexilogos is the same thing, but again, I'm not going to go through the many terms. And we get into socialism, there are many definitions there too. And the crown is there. The crown you have is there. Noam Chomsky is there. He nails it. He nails socialism. He nails fascism. He understands the individual. Americans understand the importance of us, the individual. Freedom with responsibility and accountability at the basic individual level. This does not exist in Oxford, folks. This does not exist in your crown system. It certainly goes through everything he checks and marks in socialism as it's defined by the crown. And that means they get all the rewards and benefits of it as pure fascists. Yeah, the exalted ones, the nation, the people, not you and me. That's the system we live in. This was Nazi Germany. This is Israel, as it has been since 1916. This was South Africa from 1949 onwards. and it's been many, many colonial regimes. But I'll tell you, folks, the written template is right here in Canada. Our media goes off on Donald Trump. If you've been watching media, I got up before my shift, go to the main room in camp, big screen, and watching all the news. And Canada deliberates. Canada's best foreign experts and politicians deliberate on Donald Trump and the whole situation. And they go through and, oh, well, Donald Trump, anti-globalist, all those NGOs I talk about from the League of Nations that are strong and vibrant today in many NGOs that people blame the UN for, but it's actually old world order stuff we lived through thousands and thousands of years. Like I said, you can go through these things for all the way from Egypt and down, ancient Egypt, time of the pharaohs and pyramids. Since known creation of monarchies, this goes on and on. And apparently in Canada 2024, we can't, as peoples, understand this. We can't understand that, like Noam Chomsky says, we're stuck right here in a spectrum, and we're only allowed those ideas approved. This is our right, left, and the center, but it's way over and up here on the left. Can be some on the right too, but it's way up here. Our system of limits is way up here in pure autocracy. Now, way down here, you find Noam Chomsky and libertarian. That's we the people. That's individual responsibility and accountability to run your government. There's none of that in Canada's system. We're a pyramid scheme as old as the pyramids of Egypt, 5,000 years old. We live in a class-structured environment, carefully regulated. They're careful to make sure you only see the spectrum that they want you to see. Spectrum's this long, but you're only allowed to be in this spectrum, and they call that right and left. And again, it's way up here in autocracy. Your government moves any which way they want. They say, oh, Trump and everything he's going, oh, he's against all the NGOs, the wealthy elite who make all the money off of all of your labor. Yeah. You don't get to have any say. There's no taxation with representation. Forget communism. That's way down here in taxation. You're way up here with the crown. That's normal, apparently. We blew China away about 25 years ago. We overtook China. You look at all of our Commonwealth and all of our major kingdoms outside of the Commonwealth, but aligned through the European institution. You look at their taxation rates. Some of them are up at 80%, folks. And people think this is normal. Oh, your life's good. You're happy. You don't need land. You don't need property rights. You don't need to have a real say in government. You just have to be quiet, and the government will provide from you by liquidating those who work around you. That's the government system. A pre-communism, arguably worse than communism. Again, I don't want to be communist. It's opposite everything I believe in. I think the people should have a say. I think individuals should have accountability. I think we should have viable social programs, not socialism. People who don't understand this, it means being individually responsible and accountable to save for your retirement, to be ready for medical emergencies, and you largely do that through your employment. You do that from your employment, or even if you get into a business, you set that up yourself. Now, there's always going to be people who won't make that. There should be a system for that. But it shouldn't be a Canadian model where only 22%, a minority, are the workers, the generators of the society. And now today, over 31% rely on the work of those. And we all get an equal vote in the crown system. The crown who has all the consolidated funds through taxation and debt financing, meaning they're debt loading you or making life so impossible for you that you have to borrow against your children and your future through your home. And then there's all the bankruptcies that all just end up on the public debt, because that's our banking system. That's our fiat monetary system, designed to always put it on that class structure. Third will eat it all. You can ascend it. There's limited spots in the second if you obey the first. Then there's the first class, elected or appointed. Those are that limited spectrum you're only allowed to have. Every autocratic regime in the world's history has had this. Monarchies are fantastic at hiding it. They've gotten so good at propaganda because they entirely control the media. Oh yeah, if you haven't been watching, you should see how it's rolling out with Trump today in Canada. And of course, our brave, strong, elite politicians and ambassadors and all the appointed are speaking out to tell you that he's a bad man and that global organizations are good. And we got to follow things like Vermont. We if you haven't been watching, Vermont can now charge oil companies for climate change. When a disaster hits in Vermont, those oil companies will pay because they're responsible, right? New York telling you that one state out of 50 says this man should be in jail. They run through a whole bogus slew with a basic prostitute. That's what we're talking about here. A low moral character, if we're being absolutely honest. A porn star, right? That's a real great lifestyle, man. I don't like to judge people, but realistically, if you've ever looked at her and then you look at the wealth of Donald Trump, do you think he'd ever be caught messing around with something like that? Do you think somebody with that kind of financial status would be messing around with, honestly, a pig like that? I'm just an average guy, but I think I've always had beautiful women, and if I had the billions Donald Trump had, would I be messing around with a pig like that? I don't think it's hard to figure out that it's all baloney and bogus. Those who don't want to look at it is because they're in the system. They like the system that really just oppresses us and our children, because it's doubly worse for our children. I watch Canadians, a lot of Canadians going, oh, look at what Trudeau did to the country. Meanwhile, forgetting that Trudeau's only doubled down. There's a good publication right now. People are sharing the meme of how Trudeau doubled everything of Canada before it. Did you know I can draw the same meme for Stephen Harper and show how he got to the 686 billion? And then before him and before that one and on, all the way to Pierre Elliott Trudeau, as it goes like this. Conservative, liberal, does not matter. The NGO agendas and everything else, immigration, climate change, and that whole socialist reality, that fascist reality, especially with our crown, all the agendas, 2021, or we could go Paris Climate Accord, Agenda 2021, 2030, now 2050. All your politicians are absolutely in on it. Danielle Smith just said, big emitters tax. Folks, that means your tax, because you got to pay it forward. It's called a hidden tax. And if you don't believe me, just go look at prices in the USA for the same products versus yours. And of course, you're going to go, oh, imperial and metric, oh, USA. But if you do that, you'll find that the products you buy in petroleum are way, way higher, ever so higher than they ever could be in the States. And why? Because they don't have taxation without representation. That is a socialist and fascist design of a runaway autocratic regime that, I'm sorry, folks, you can't elect your way out of. You can't. libertarian down here. And people make fun of them. And yes, there's a whole other side to libertarian hijacked that's not really libertarian at all, as it's not a we the people individual responsibility and accountability that's part and parcel with libertarianism. If you don't have that, you're not really libertarian. But you'll find those crown colonials, the Democrats, heavy in that, have really funded and financed that to create that. It's called hijacking. We know about it completely in Canada, as the media does it consistently, day after day, hour after hour, news story after news story. It's how they get paid, how they've always gotten paid. Trudeau gave them a massive raise off of all of you. And that's what Noam Chomsky, if you haven't read his many works, he's got more than 150 books. In my works, I've read personally about a dozen books of his, and I've read so many of his academic papers: politics, linguistics, and war, some war. I'm not a very good war expert, but I like the ideology of it in relation to the political party system. And when you look at the Crown, he just does a fantastic job of going over that. Like so many others, he's not the best of the best, but he's up there. He's up there in overall academics. He's probably top 10 in American living history now today. It was a pleasure to read that today and people sharing that. But it's just so awful how brazen and bold the Canadian government is on blasting out socialism and fascism at such a heightened state. And Canadians, you really need to learn socialism, because you're in it. You're in it at an epic rate, and you're tricked into it. No, if I go conservative, it's all going to end. When they're talking the globalism and the agendas, conservative premiers or conservative opposition leaders and tax and big emitters and big tax here, not on you. It's all a lie. The Democrats are the biggest socialist liars. They learned it from Canadian conservatives, liberals, and NDP. That's a reality. And if you look, you'll find that the Democrats are emboldened and in bed with all those kind of lunatics, really. That's what it is. It's totally not conservative. When you're being taxed at the 60 percentile overall, you don't have any kind of conservative government. You never have. There's no such thing at that point. You're way beyond communism. And it really bothers me that so many are this institutionalized, this ignorant of it. Oh, well, we need all those things. We need 22% at maximum of our population working and the rest feeding off of that? I don't think so. I think you've been fooled into creating wealthy, elite politicians, a wealthy class, and a tent city society. And if you think it started with the beacon flashlight Justin Trudeau of the problem of a constitutional monarchy known as Canada, codified as Canada is, I don't know what to tell you, because they're all like that, and they've all been doing it and ramping it up, especially since the 70s. Take an inch, then a mile. Take another inch, another mile. And then you hit someone like Justin Trudeau's father, and they take 10 miles. But you never go back. You notice that? You never get it straightened out and said, oh, this one's better than that one. If it's so much better, why are we in the 60 percentile taxation? Why are we there? No, it's not true. I'm working at a job site where the average rig rate's $95 an hour. I know a pile of them here. Pile of them. I've had a long career. When I was last doing it, before I got into my union, $140 an hour. In the inflation time that we're at, where they can say, oh, inflation's slowing down to 2%. It doesn't account for all the inflation you've had every day before it. and what's left with you at that point. And that's what I don't think people understand. That your dollar is now worth 20 cents. What happened to the penny? Oh, a nickel in Canada. We don't need pennies anymore. Americans still got pennies. That should scare the living shit out of you. But it doesn't with Canadians. Well, when I get out, I'll be one of the elites too. And we look around at our society and we see it falling down, down, down. This was all South Africa. Go around Johannesburg, you can see all the tent city, the rubbish pile housing. And Canada doesn't see a correlation. Canadians don't see a correlation in every municipality, every major city, for sure. You don't see that correlation. You don't see the results of your broke-ass system of wealthy elites who are ever so richer. Pierre Poilievre's worth $30 million. He's never even been prime minister. He's just an opposition leader, the official opposition leader, living in a mansion. But his polling company, he's the greatest investor. Like, everyone has that same story. And you look at their education, scratch. Pierre Poilievre, what job did you ever do? Never had a fucking job in his life, not a real one. He worked for the political parties. He was working as a telemarketer for a year. Huh? A telemarketer, super con man in the crown, is now worth $30 million because he's a better investor than everyone on Bay Street and everybody on Wall Street. He's a better investor. He's better. I'm doing really well, averaging about a 7% return. I'm real proud about that. But somehow that guy has a 500% return every year, right? You think he's any different than Justin Trudeau? He's the prime minister. His returns, he's worth $100 million more now, beyond his foundations, just in his 9 years. $100 million. Because Trudeau, the part-time school teacher, is the greatest personal investor on Bay Street and Wall Street in history. He's the best. We can go on to Jagmeet Singh. It's the same bullshit. I can go to my province. It's the same bullshit from the former Premier Jason Kenney. Whopping millions. High school graduate. But he's a savvy businessman. Guess what he has in common with all the other politicians? They get 5, 6, 7, 800% returns too. Because they're the greatest personal investors the Bay Street or Wall Street's ever seen. Right? It's not just him. Rachel Notley too. You know, she's worth $10 million, right? Greatest investor on Bay Street and Wall Street. Guess what Daniel Smith's doing right now? Oh yeah, 630 Chen. Wow, you're Premier of Alberta. You've been at it 2 years. $5 million, way beyond their salary, right? And you can go read her profile and guess what they'll tell you? She's the greatest personal investor Bay Street or Wall Street's ever seen. Like, how dumb as a Canadian or first person do you gotta be to believe anything other than epic scale corruption, that somehow we're this great country and none of that ever goes on here, even though in world rankings they'll tell you constitutional monarchies are historically problematic corruption. Because why? Libertarian? These are socialist fascists. There's no responsibility. Not for them. No accountability. None for them. Go show me the law that does that. Oh, there isn't. Because you're not people. You're class subjects or defined savages legally. Shut up. Give me all your money. Pay all my scams, all my NGOs. They'll take care of me. Because I'm a divine human being. I'm extremely socialist and fascist because I get all the benefits of your work, your wealth, your oodles of taxation. And when that doesn't cover the bill, no problem. I'll debt load against all of you to make sure my wealth grows. Yeah. I will feed all of these wealthy elites assigned to all these NGOs from the old world. There's 1,500 of them. Oh, yeah. 1,500 global billionaires that are in the front pocket, all your politicians. And when they come out of office, and even during their time in office, they're just the greatest personal investors the world's ever seen. Nobody can top them on Bay Street or Wall Street. Most of them don't even have an education. Their education is, are you a good liar? Are you good at selling bold-faced lies right there on the screen? And people believe it? Can you convince the masses? Are you our person? Would you sell your soul to the devil and screw all your people? Kick as many down as you can? Oh yeah, they say. And oh yeah, they go. Welcome to the first class. Me and you tried doing that in our class. We tried jumping through any of those style hula hoops. You're going to see supreme justice. That's the mark of an autocratic dictatorial government. And if you don't get it, read Noam Chomsky and so many others. All Americans, they'll tell you. Why do you think there was a war of independence? Taxation without representation. That means that a divine elite is dictating to you how your economy's going to go and how you're going to function in the economy. That's called an assigned equity of the person. Yeah, that's you, not equality of the person. No matter what they say and race, the rest of it, it will never be equality of the person in Canada. It's a pyramid called equity of the person. Oh, sure, there's diversity, equity, inclusion. If you fit the bill of the wealthy elite up here, the rest of you are going to be down here in the dumps. And many of you in the tent cities they're creating as they liquidate you in socialist, fascist designed, constitute codified in the 1867 Constitutional Acts of Canada. And since then, through that highest of high laws, the next Indian Act, and then onward to all the other acts of Parliament and legislatures, all for the benefit of the Crown, not for you. You're fooled into believing this is normal. You see what little spectrum they want you to see, not the full picture. You get this one right here. And again, it's way up here, and it can be left, it can be right. And you think that, oh, you're getting so informed. You're not. You're being fooled, taken, spent, spanked, beaten, whipped. All you have to do is look at contract rates, look at wages, and then go measure your inflation, your debt to GDP ratio. All three markers, government, which is the public, corporate, and then household. That's another version of taxation without representation. That's a runaway, unaccountable, not responsible government. When you have that, you have an absolute dictatorial regime. Socialist and fascist. If you don't believe that, read the Constitutional Acts of Canada. You will only read about the wealthy first class, elected and appointed, and all their superpowers as the citizens. And then, in the middle, once again, after the charter, and at the very end, if you didn't get it, there's the rest of you in your limited, shitty capacity as slaves or savage people. That's what's written. It's all there for you. Nothing applies to you. It all applies to them. And if you didn't read the first 2/3 of your Constitution that only ever speaks of them and defines each and every one of them, I don't know what to tell you. But let's just ignore all that. Stick with the charter, just like the Magna Carta. Stick with that. I got a charter. But the sentences leading up to the charter tell you it doesn't apply. The sentences immediately after the charter tell you that if you didn't get it at the beginning there, you certainly should know it now. And then at the very end of the Constitution, as you're closing out on the last page, near the top, they finish you off with, just in case you didn't understand, you're the subjects or the savages defined. And this isn't for you. You're subject to this. There's no other constitution in the world like that, besides a lot of other monarchies or pure civil law socialist dictator regimes. Absolutely cemented. And we're the illusion of democracy. And if people don't figure that out, you will soon. You will soon, as you see this elite emerge and the tent cities expand all around. And it is growing. And I don't see it getting any better because people can't wake up to it, can't wake up to the lessons learned from countries in their history like the United States of America, why they have a constitution the way they do. Countries like the Russian Federation and why they have a constitution the way they do. People need to wake up. That's my video. Share. Gave a lot here. Yeah, there's a lot of frustration because the truth does frustrate. Because people won't accept it. And it's sad, but it's true and people need to hear it. God bless everybody. Share. Get it out there. Enjoy your day. Bye now.